Hi, everybody. This is Monica Sigmon, Sony Artisan of Imagery, here with your next episode of Sony Alpha Female, the interviews. As you know, this is a series in which we can spotlight creators from the Sony Alpha Female community. If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, please jump over there and join in. We're about 15,000 members strong right now, and it's just a wonderful place to get questions answered and advice and support. And it's really a really special community. And today we actually have the woman responsible for this community, Michaela Ion. How are you?
Hi, Monica. So good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for being here. In addition to Sony Alpha Universe editor-in-chief, you are the reason we are 15,000 strong in this Facebook group. So I really appreciate you being here today and just kind of giving us some good insight as to why this program and how we can use it best and where you see it going and all the things. So before we get started, you and I met, it's almost exactly 5 years ago, 2019 at Creative Space. And that was when I was named creator in residence, which was one of the initial iterations of this program. And I'm so thankful because now I call you a friend and we just have had a lovely 5 years together, at least on my side. If it's not on your side, don't tell me now. Tell me after.
I think that would be a pretty good long game if I was playing that. So definitely all of the things. And thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, not just to talk about the program, but because when we started this is what we were hoping for. That people would take it and run with it. And I very much appreciate you giving me the credit for our group and the 15,000 strong, but that's really the community's credit. It's, all you can hope for when you start something like this is that people will respond and they will appreciate it, and then they will take it and make it their own. And that's what's been happening. And you're proof of that, of, hosting this podcast and of all the things that you've done throughout the years. So thank you for doing this and for having me. Certainly not worthy. You've had some amazing people so far. So very excited.
Well, as I have said in previous episodes, this community is the source of some of my most prized friendships now, and that's because of what you built. So I'm curious, like we're going to dive in because I have so many things I want to get to. I have 3 pages of questions, so I'm curious as to how Sony Alpha Female was started. Like, where did this idea stem from? Was there somebody that made a significant impact in your life? Like, where did this come about?
Oh, there's so many people who made a significant impact on my life. The idea started in 2018. I have been with Sony for a very long time. I won't even mention how long, but I've been working directly on the Sony Alpha business for about the past decade. And in 2018, we were sitting thinking about the industry as a whole, and a variety of things had happened in the industry that were just highlighting the disparities in representation for a variety of different groups in society, not just gender-based, minorities and so on. And we at that point had finally reached a moment where the Sony brand in cameras had sort of reached a level playing field, so to speak. And we realized that we had a lot of power that we could put behind doing something about it, right? And other people were not doing it. And we were like, okay, well, what are we waiting for? The change should be us, right? So we thought about it, and as a nod to the whole alpha male concept, we decided to create this alpha female program as an idea of trying to foster representation of all different types of creators in our industry, because when that happens, that's good not just for the individuals and not just for the community, but it's good for business as well. It's good for everybody, right? So we wanted to take that power and to take all of the stuff that we had built in our business and do something good with it. And that's how the program started. And we started with Creator in Residence, as you mentioned. That was the program that you joined. And then it just continued to evolve from there, completely based on community feedback on what people wanted to see. And today we are doing the majority of our activities related to our Facebook group, which you mentioned has 15,000 members and growing every day. And I hope everybody joins. It's a really wonderful, supportive group of creators who share their work every day. And we give out these micro grants every week, and we try to support with meetups and a variety of other things. But things have evolved in the meantime where this is part of how we do things, right, on a regular basis. Like we work with creators of all types. We make sure that we have representation within our ranks and within the creators that we work with. So I'm hoping that you have seen that and everybody has seen that, over time and how that has evolved.
So what do you, I mean, you started this in 2018. I was the class of 2019 and we immediately got shut down. We had one meeting and then we got shut down because of COVID. So how do you attribute this success from, 0 to 15K in, let's say, 6 years, but two and a half of which were kind of out of commission. And really, we only started in-person meetups last year. So what do you attribute that growth to? Because it's counterintuitive, really.
Well, I attribute it to the need that everybody sees, that everybody feels, right? The need for community didn't go away during the pandemic, and it never goes away, right? Especially in times like the ones that we're living in right now, community is that much more important because that's where you can get your support and inspiration and education and so on. And I think that regardless of what happens around, the community continued to get strong because people wanted it, because people wanted to engage with others like them. And I have spoken with many of our members over the years, as you know, and every single time, every one of them says, I just love being a part of it. I haven't found anything else like it where people are supportive. There's no sort of random, drama, and where nobody is there to tell me what I'm doing wrong constantly, right?
Right.
Everything, even the feedback is always productive, and just love being a part of it. And that means the world to me because that's what we wanted to create, right? There's plenty of places in the world where you will find people to bring you down. This is not one of them. This is the place where we lift people up, because that's what this program and this community is all about. And I've said it all along from the very beginning. I hope that within our lifetimes and careers, we get to a point where this is no longer necessary, so to speak, right? The community exists and it's there, and it's just another thing that we do because everybody's represented, and the world is a place where everybody has an opportunity to share their creativity and their thoughts and be able to contribute in an equal manner.
I think that the culture you guys have created within this group, I always say culture comes from the top. And I think, one of the most impactful things for me when I joined kind of the alpha female community was just all of these people that I had looked up to for so long, whose work I admired, and, Brooke Shaden and Katrine, and just like these big names that I thought, oh my gosh, how do I even like meet them or talk to them? And I think what's common in the Alpha Female Facebook group and in the artisan program, because of what you and Kayla have done there, it's just everybody's on the level playing field. There's nobody who's above anybody else. Nobody feels that way or acts that way. Everybody's really just there for each other. Everybody's trying to get the best relationships out of anybody. Doesn't matter what level or experience or anything else. And so that's really unique to our group. I don't know of any other communities that don't have that kind of intrinsic, these are the people, that we all look to. So I think that that's really helpful for so many people. So we thank you for that.
Oh yeah, of course. And I mean, I like to think that what comes with experience more than anything is the ability to understand that including other people makes you better as well. And I think that our community is a prime example of that. And we always just tend to work with people who share the same values and share the sort of the same principles. And I have noticed that the more experienced or successful somebody is in our community, especially, the more inclusive and sharing they become, and the more likely they are to try to lift other people up with them, which is kind of like the thing that I most desire in life is to bring this kind of freedom to other people and get them to be the most them that they can possibly be. And I think our community as a whole, Artisans Collective, everybody just shares that value of bringing more people up, because that's what we care about ultimately.
Everybody loves what they do. And I think it's more fun to do it with other people that love what they do also. Um, okay, so it started as a group and then it became the Facebook group and then it was like growing and growing and now we're doing in-person events. So kind of just tell everybody briefly what that's about and how they're going.
Yeah, over time we had events before the pandemic as well, like larger events, as you know, and those were great in bringing the community together. And then we had to stop. And afterwards, it sort of became clear that the community wanted to get involved and have more in person connection. And this country is so large that it would be impossible for us to host events all over the place, right? So we typically did a couple of events a year, and we continue to do them. And we just had one in New York where I just saw you the week before last, which was just really wonderful and just so humbling every time to see the people's passion and excitement around Alpha Female and this entire community and the passion around creating. But the community said, well, we'd like to host some things. We want to get together in our towns and cities. And we said, okay, well, that's great. And we think you should, and we'd like to support you. So every month now we're doing a couple of meetups that they're completely community driven, community led, by leaders in the Sony Alpha Female group who have self-identified as people who are interested in fostering this kind of community event.
Great.
And they meet in their areas, and we send them a little swag, and we promote their event in the group, and other like-minded individuals sign up, and it always turns out great. We always love getting photos, and people always have such a great time. And that brings me back to my original point of, like, this is a community driven type of initiative. This, people are taking it and running with it, and it is a beautiful thing to see.
So if somebody wants to host an event like this in their local area, what's the best way for them to just let you guys know they're putting their hand up?
Well, join the Facebook Sony Alpha Female group and get in touch with Stormy, who manages the community on my team, and she will be able to put you down on the list and take it from there.
Awesome.
Or
Awesome.
join an event from there. You will see what's posted.
So where do you see this program? Like, what's next?
That's a great question. We're in the planning stages for next year right now. So we're looking at what the possibilities are. What are we going to do more of? More events, more activities. When we started creating residence, as you know, there was a really great mentorship element to it, and we're trying to see how can we bring that back into the mix, in a way that's scalable, right? And that helps everybody. So we might, have something related to that. There's a lot of possibilities, and we're always open to ideas.
That's awesome. Well, I know that many of us would be very eager to help on the mentoring side because we've all had people that have helped us. So hopefully we can figure that out.
Oh
Um,
yeah, if you're offering, I'll take it.
well, I will offer, and I know a whole bunch of others that will too. So I will speak for them. Um,
Wonderful.
So okay, so walk us back to how you got started in the field of photography. Were you a photographer? Did you love photography? Was it that you got started with Sony and then fell in love with photography? What came first?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I actually always loved photography. I had a lot of film cameras in my time, with the risk of dating myself. So there was a constant developing of photos that was happening in my early years, and as a kid and in high school especially. So I've always had sort of this passion for photography, and I just continued as a hobby, throughout my sort of early adulthood. And then at Sony, I was here when the Sony Alpha business started, and when we
So
had,
explain to people what that like.
yeah,
Just take
it
two
was
seconds to explain the
we had
Sony app.
yeah we had 0% of the market, right? Sony acquired Concom and Alta, and they started developing the Sony Alpha brand. And we started with A mount, and then the mirrorless revolution was kind of driven by our leadership, and we went all in into the technology because it became obvious that it was so powerful from the very beginning. So I watched that happen from other areas of the company. I wasn't a part of it in the very beginning, and then later on, I joined the group, and we started working directly on bringing Sony Alpha to the world, and making sure that everyone kind of understood the power of our product, right? So we had Alpha Universe started, and we wanted to get sort of this message across of like, here's why mirrorless is an incredible technology, and why these cameras are absolutely something you would want to be a part of. And people started noticing, and they started adopting the product. And here we are today, where a good portion of the community shoots on Sony, and we love to see it.
Did you think it would happen this fast? First of all, did you think that Sony would take control of the market? And then secondly, if so, did you think it would happen this fast? Because it's pretty fast.
I mean, it's at my level, especially at the time, you're part of your small part of what everyone else is doing, right? You're just contributing your part and hoping that's going to make a difference. And I think there is no employee in that situation, no contributor in that situation that would be like, well, I don't think this is going to work, right? You're always going to be like, yeah, I believe in this, right? I believe in the brand, I believe in the product, and this is incredible. And of course we're gonna make waves with it. So that's always the hope, and luckily it worked out, and our efforts paid off. But it's always it's a continuous project. It's a continuous effort to make sure that we do better for the community. The Alpha brand has always been a community-based brand. Our products revolve around the community's needs. It was like that from the beginning. We have incredible leadership like Neil and everyone else who are just so crystal clear on the fact that we are serving our community first and foremost. And our engineers are so focused on including community feedback into products. You have had multiple conversations with our engineers yourself, where they pepper you with questions like in great detail about how you do something, and how do you press this button, and how about this button, and the things that that people do with our cameras is the absolute most important foundational element of how our products are developed. Like, it's not an engineer being like, well, I have this brilliant idea, I'm going to put it in a camera and I'm going to give it to people and they're going to love it. It's more of a, well, we're thinking we might want to do this, but what do you think? Would that be useful to you? Or what challenges are you facing when shooting in your type of environment? And that just goes back into the product planning cycle, and it just comes to the market, in the next iteration. So you've seen that happen over and over. And that is a credit to how we have approached this from the get-go, which is, what do people need? Let's give them that, versus trying to just put a product out there that was good for business, but not necessarily something that the community wanted. So it's a different way of thinking, but it's something that everybody has adopted. And we are very proudly community based, and we are very proudly user needs based, and have been. And I think we will remain that way.
I think people would be so surprised to know this, that it's really not like a little propaganda piece you and I have crafted up here. I mean, it really is. My first event at Sony was in 2019 at Creator Space, and I remember a creative space, and I remember leaving the hotel to go to the event one morning, and a couple of artisans were going this way back into the hotel. And I was like, I had just met them, and I was like, what are you guys doing? The event's that way. And they were like, we're meeting with the engineers. And I was like, wait, what engineers? And they were like, from Japan, the engineers, they want to know our feedback. And I thought, okay, they must be really important. Like, that's crazy. What's happening? But now, as I've attended more and more events, I'm seeing that that's not the exception. That is the rule. And like you said, having been able myself to sit in on a few of those and answer questions and then see what comes as a result of that is pretty crazy cool. Pretty crazy cool. And I know that just being able to talk to the engineers from Japan and the CEO from Japan in August and be able to say, your product is what enables me to do what I love for a living. It enables, I'm a family portrait photographer. So what you're making is enabling generations to come to understand where they come from, and just to be able to have that conversation has been crazy. I don't think that's something that most companies have. I was on another system for over 20 years, and I always tell people I shot Sony long before my professional affiliation with you guys, because I think that's really important to understand. And just the more success you guys have and the bigger Sony gets, I feel like the smaller you get, the more drilled down you get, which is pretty unique. I will tell you a funny story. 2 summers ago, 2.5 years. So 2 summers ago, we were doing a road trip, and we were like in somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania. I had no idea Pennsylvania was such a long state, but I think we were in there for days. Like, we just couldn't get out of Pennsylvania. And so one night we were staying over, and we went to this like local little bar, tavern, pub kind of situation. Football was on. We sat at the bar, and it was trivia night. And so they were going through all these questions, whatever, we're half paying attention. It's packed, like it's packed. This is the only thing this town has to do, like in the middle of nowhere. So one of the questions was, what is the #1 camera brand? And that's immediately like piqued I was like, wait, what are they doing? And the multiple choice was Canon, Fuji, and Sony. And I thought, oh my God, we made the top 3. This is amazing. But then the answer was Sony. So not only did like so many people in the room get it right, which was also a shock to me, but the fact that the actual answer was Sony was pretty cool. So I don't know if I ever sent you that video. But I need to send it to you because it was pretty great. So, yeah, it was great. Okay, so we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna do a little rapid fire. So
Okay.
take a break from the heavy stuff, and we're gonna get to know about Michaela just a little bit. So
Okay.
are like just gut answers. Ready?
Ready. Let's see what you
Okay.
got.
Introvert or extrovert?
Ambivert.
Wow, okay. Wait, is ambi both or neither?
It's
Both.
both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Early bird or night owl?
Oh, definitely night owl. Yep.
I know the answer to this. Movie or book?
Book. Yes, definitely book.
Call or text?
Depends on what relationship we have.
I'm like, neither. Let me answer that for you.
Definitely
Um,
not email, as you know.
yeah. Black and white or color?
Color.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Rain or shine?
Depends on the season. I like a little bit of rain. I'm not gonna lie, but not
Hey.
all the time.
Do you have any superstitions?
I am trying to I'm trying to not have any superstitions at all in my life.
No
I think,
limits.
yeah, I think in many cases superstitions are just holding us back,
Mhm.
and it is my intention to just go full speed forward. So trying not to have any.
Do you do New Year's resolutions or a word for the year or anything like that?
I used to. I don't anymore because it's like I feel like everything I do in my life is a constant resolution and that I try to keep. So it's, I try to think of time as a social construct and not have sort of any arbitrary
Like
limits
January
put on it.
1. Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's fiscal years, which starts on April 1st. And as you know, that matters.
I could see that about you. I could see that just knowing you the way I do, I feel like you're not going to wait till January 1st to decide that you want to change something or do something
No,
different. And
no.
and you're not going to set yourself up for the inevitable failure that the rest of us have when we by January 4th haven't kept our resolutions. So
Well, I
um
mean, I fail a lot, and that's okay. I think that's something that people need to do more of is fail more so you can learn more, so you can grow more.
have you
Because
always felt that way? Have you always been
no,
brave?
no, I don't think I have. I mean, it depends on what perspective you're coming at it from. Obviously, I've done some really crazy things in my life, like move continents on my own with no money, but that kind of worked out for me, right? So I think that I have discovered, and it's been a long process, but I've been going through this process for, I would say, the past decade of trying to sort of learn how to do things differently and how to think differently, and I have discovered, and I'm a firm believer in the fact that there is no success or gain that comes without pain.
Mm.
Um, and I think people avoid pain a lot because it hurts. And they get so bogged down in the pain of it and the hurt of it that they forget that that's how they're going to move forward. And I think of pain as a terrible master but a reliable worker, right? If you make it work for yourself, so you can let it lead you and you can let it take over your life and it will dictate everything you do, and that's a terrible master. Or you can say, all right, I would like to now use you in this way, and I'm going to put you to work in this way, and this is what I've learned from it. And then it just becomes a really valuable advisor in your process because then you learn how to do things differently. Like I've never seen anybody achieve things in a significant way without having had a lot of pain and challenges
Mm.
and overcoming those.
So, what's your advice then to people who I think because creatives a lot, don't you think, are paralyzed by fear
Oh,
and
yeah.
rejection and all of the things? So, what is your advice in how to start thinking differently about that? 'Cause I hear the words you're saying. I hear what you're saying. It sounds good, but how do we start implementing that practically?
Yeah, I tell people a couple of things. The first one is I always tell people to ask themselves, what's the worst that could happen, right? So um, I'll give you one example in just a second. Then I tell people to think about their fear and sort of have a chat with it and understand, is it a fear that protects you or is it a fear that's holding you back, right? There are fears that protect you, and it's good to have them, right? And there are risks that your sort of inner voice tells you don't do that right now, and that's okay too, right? But there are fears mostly, and most fears fall into this category, fears that hold you back. right? They're designed to hold you back because um, you know, the mind is designed in that way, right? The body is designed to sort of protect itself. So is this a fear that's holding you back, or is it protecting you? And what's the worst that could happen? And to give you an example, I've had this conversation dozens and dozens of time over the years in as part of this program, which was like, I really want to submit my work and I really want to apply, but I'm just so afraid. And I don't know, my work is not good enough. And I don't think it is. And I see so much great work coming from other people. And I just don't think that that's, you know, something that I could compete in. And my answer is always like, that's crazy. First of all, what's the worst that could happen if you do, right?
Right.
You don't win, right? You don't win a grant, or you don't win a spot in whatever exhibit or whatever it is that you're submitting your work for, right? Or that you're publishing your work and not enough people view it according to whatever the standards are. So who cares,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've done it and you've learned something from it, and you move on and you do it again, right? You had Brooke Shaden on your podcast, and a lot of people know her. And Brooke will be the first to tell you how many times she's failed, right? But she just puts herself out there over and over and over again, constantly,
Right.
with great joy, and no fear, right? And she's like, yeah, I did it and I failed and I'm moving on. I'm going to do the next thing. And that's why she succeeds so much, right? Because she tries so much. And that's the point of it. The point of it is that fear that's telling you don't do it, don't apply, don't submit your work, don't publish your content, is the thing that's holding you back, because you continue to stay in the place you're in. And clearly you're not very happy in that place because a voice inside you is telling you, apply, put your work out there, right? But you're saying, oh no, I'm afraid. And rejection is a valid fear. And I think we all have it, right? I know very few people who don't fear rejection. But I think that is also kind of like figuring out and negotiating your relationship with your own ego, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, terrible master, but a really reliable worker, just like fear, right? So if your ego is the one telling you don't do it because we might get rejected, then that is not somebody you should listen to, right? You listen to the creator in you who says, let's do this. And then who knows what we're going to learn from it. There are so many opportunities that come from rejection as well, right? And if you keep listening to your ego telling you we got to protect ourselves because it's much better to be in the space where nobody's rejecting us, but we're not winning either, but that's okay because we can win in our own heads, versus being like, all right, well, so I got rejected. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, moving on. I'm going to get rejected again. That's all right.
Well, selfishly, I don't care if anybody else is even listening to this, present or future, because that was the best advice that I've heard ever, probably. And it's exactly what I needed, because I find that I'm always straddling this fence between optimism and pragmatism. As a business owner, it's kind of like, well, I think this could really work, but then practically speaking, what are the stakes? And so I don't straddle that well. So this is good advice. So thank you for
I
that.
think it's I wish more people, and I see this in our community a lot, more of the members in our community, I wish people sort of understood the idea of risk a little bit better, right? When we say risk, we think of really massive things, right? Of things that are life changing. But the reality is that we all take small risks all the time in our lives, and we don't think of those as risks. And because of that, we have a warped understanding of what taking a risk means. But if you started doing an inventory in your life of the things that you have risked, the small things that you have risked, by making small decisions and small steps, you'll realize that you're much more of a risk taker than you think you are. And once you do that, you also help yourself understand that perhaps because you're much more of a risk taker than you thought you were, you could take other risks that are bigger because you have the appetite for it, and you are able to withstand it. And most of the time when you take a risk, you actually gain from it versus losing, right? Because once you make this inventory, you realize that the risks you've taken have paid off. So I would encourage everyone to start looking at it that way. I have one of my best friends has written a book called Risky Women. Her name is Megan Ragsdale, and um, there's like a really great sort of paradigm in there, model that she built through many conversations that we had, called Find Her, and it's a way of sort of getting yourself more comfortable with risk. So whatever you do, whether you do that or you put yourself through sort of some deep negotiation with yourself, and some deep thinking, think about that and think about risk as something that is innate to you and not something that comes with great burden and great pain from the outside. And all of a sudden, once you change that mindset and the way you look at it, things are going to get a lot easier, in the way you do them, because nothing has such high stakes anymore as you thought they did.
That's amazing. That's so helpful, I'm sure, to so many people because, um, well, and I've told you this, I almost didn't apply for the Alpha Female program. It was 48 hours before, and I thought, okay, I will try it. But I was terrified. And exactly right. What's the worst that could happen? I would have been passed over, and the best thing that could happen is what has happened. So
Right.
never know. You never know. Okay, back to our rapid fire. Where did we leave off? All right. Something you can't live without.
Love. I can't live without love.
What's a secret talent of yours?
Secret talent. Um, that is a great question. Um, I'm a really great therapist. A lot of my friends know
I
this.
believe it.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will call you after we're done here.
Sounds
Um,
good.
uh, let's see. What celebrity would you want to be BFFs with?
Oh, I would love to be BFFs with Elizabeth Gilbert. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That's a good one. That's a great answer. Something on your bucket list.
So many things on my bucket list. A lot of travel in many different places is still on my bucket list.
Something that you can't do but wish you could.
Oh, so many things. But I really, really wish I was like a black belt at karate or jiu-jitsu or something. Like I would love to have that talent.
Have you
And
ever
it's
tried?
on my bucket list. So there you go.
Have you ever tried?
I've tried Krav Maga, and I decided that, all of the falling on your back thing, probably not for me. Yeah.
Fair. Do you have a guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh, let's see. Something that would qualify as a guilty pleasure. I watch TV. I do enjoy, I think this is the golden age of TV storytelling. So as a storyteller myself, I just really very much enjoy it. Um, so I would say, anything action, like I just watched Lioness,
Oh, I'm dying
this
to see it.
weekend, or
Yeah.
uh, things like that. I don't
Okay.
know that I don't feel guilty, so it's not a guilty pleasure. I don't know how to expect. Like if I make a decision to do something, I'm just gonna do it and not feel guilty about it, because what is the point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let's see. Okay, one item that you have to have in your bag at all times.
Um. Oh, hand sanitizer, definitely. Oh, and Aquaphor. I have so much Aquaphor everywhere, like the little tubes, that you would not believe it. And I just keep buying more. I don't know why, but like every pocket has one.
That's how I am with chapstick. What word would you use to describe the last 3 years?
Transformative.
What quality do you cherish most in a friend?
Honesty.
How do you recharge?
I read and I write. by myself with nobody around.
Half full or half empty?
Half full.
Do you have a favorite quote?
Yes, I have a lot of favorite quotes. Let's see. Um, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. It's the first two lines of the Litany Against Fear in Dune.
Favorite food?
That's a very hard one because I am a foodie. So there are so many things that, depending on the mood and on the day and on the place I'm in and everything, that just really changes the answer a lot. But I would say consistently, I do enjoy sushi.
I was going to say that sushi we had in Vegas was pretty great. That was a great dinner.
Karen,
Um,
talk about it. So yes,
yeah. 3 words to describe what you do.
3 words sentence or 3 words
Words.
descriptive word.
Just
Okay.
3 different descriptive words.
What I do storytelling. I do community building, and I do people. People
I was
is
going to
part
say
of what I do.
connector for you. I was going to say
Yeah,
connector. Yeah.
yeah.
So go into the storytelling piece a little bit. In what way do you tell your stories?
I think that the most impactful things that people do have a story behind them and have a story that's told. I think there are a lot of impactful things that people do that don't have their story told and nobody ever knows about them. And they sort of end up going nowhere because nobody told their story, right? So, especially in today's world, the I think it's a really important skill to have. And ultimately, the story that you tell is what's going to tell somebody if they want to invest in you or not, in you as a person, or in your brand, or in your product, or whatever it is that you're doing, right? So if you just tell me you are a family portrait photographer and that's the thing that I know about you, that's not going to say anything, right, to me, because there are so many other people. But then you start telling your story about how you became that and how you approach it and what you do, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I want Monica to be the one who shoots my portrait because she knows what she's doing and I love her philosophy of it. I had this conversation actually this weekend with some people because I've been with my personal trainer for a long time now, and somebody asked me recently is, well, why did you pick her, right? I mean, I live in Del Mar, California. There's like one at every corner, and I was like, yeah, I went through like a couple of dozen people before I actually found her, and I researched and I had conversations because I really wanted somebody who understood who I was and what I wanted and what my values were. And she told me a story of who she was and what she cared about that made the difference for me. And that's why I reached out to her and I ended up getting to know her. So it's that kind of a thing that is just really really matters. And the reason I use storyteller as the first thing I told you about what I do is because brand marketing is storytelling. Community building is storytelling, right? We with Alpha Female, we told a story, and the story was we're not where we should be as a society and as an industry,
Yeah.
but we think we can achieve it if we all work together to do it, right? And we need everybody to be part of that dream. So if I tell the story of Sony Alpha, I have to mention, the things that we care about and the values that we care about, right? It's not just the camera brand. It's what's behind it that matters, right? There's a lot of great cameras today. The products are all great, right? You can take a good photo with any camera. And that's not to say that, I don't believe that our products are better, because I do think they are. But ultimately, if you're a creator who has a camera in their hand, regardless of the brand, if that's your passion and that's what you want to do, you're going to take a picture. You're going to take a great picture. But the way you choose that product that you buy, that camera that can be great from any brand, should also involve, like, what do I care about? And when you pick the Sony Alpha brand, you know that we stand for things. We stand for equity and equality. And we stand for the power of community. And we stand for supporting creators of all kinds. And all these different things that are part of our story, right? That we have created because we wanted the world to know us in a different way. And at that point, it becomes much more important for you as a person to pick that brand because you know their camera is good, but also you know that it supports the values that you uphold as well. So that's why storytelling is so important, right? It's not just that I'm a writer and I write stories, which I do, as part of my sort of personal life, but professionally too, stories are what matter. When you work somewhere, the story of who you are matters, right? How are you going to craft that? And I think when we're young, we all make the mistake of thinking that story doesn't matter, right? That we're not building a story with the actions that we take, but we do. So being able to think about what that story is all the time, about who you are and what you stand for, is really important as you go along toward your goals, because at no point will you be confused about the things that you are searching for, the things that you're trying to achieve, because your story is very clear.
So a lot of people see you from afar and very like with anybody who is well known, they're maybe afraid to say hello or introduce themselves or whatever, right? It's intimidating any of us that have people that we admire. So what is the story of Michaela that you want people to know and feel comfortable saying hello to you next time they see you?
Well, that's first of all, that's crazy to me that anyone would not be able to say hello to me, because I don't think of myself in that way. So if that's ever the case, oh please. Um, I am so not in my head about myself in any way whatsoever. Like I don't think of myself in that way. Um, and the story of me is that I am just like anybody else. I am someone who loves to take a chance, and I am someone who loves to have others take a chance on her. And because of that, that sort of drives the things that I do, because I look at everybody around me as people with sort of common interests and values and goals and humanity, right? Everybody is going through something, and everybody is trying to get somewhere, right? And I think people are fundamentally good, and people should fundamentally be able to approach whoever they want at any point in time, right? And I think that is something that is really important to me. And I do treat everybody the same way, right? I don't care who you are, and I don't care what your title is, and I don't care where you come from. I care about you. Who are you as a person? How do you treat others? What do you create? How do you approach the world around you? And if you take a risk and you have you might have a little trepidation approaching me as someone who represents the Sony Alpha brand, let's say, which I understand, right? Because you gotta show up in a certain way. Then my advice is, like, don't just approach me. Like, don't be afraid. That what's the worst that can happen, right? I am never going to look at you and be like, I'm not interested. Um, I might not be able to respond right away, in which case, keep going, persist, right? And people have done that in the past and it has paid off. But at no point in time am I going to reject you, because I understand what rejection means. And you at least will have had an opportunity to have a conversation and understand sort of where we're at and what we're looking for, and if that's something that could work out for a collaboration or not, right? Me as a person, approach me anytime. I will talk to anybody anytime, right? And that's always a sort of a good thing. Like I'm depending on how you come at me, we're probably going to have a very good conversation.
Alcohol in hand, like a little cocktail, then yes. No, I think that that's great because, and it's not just you. I don't want you to feel like I'm singling you out. Like it's anybody who, represents the brand or just somebody we admire. I felt that way with many photographers, and so it's nice for people to hear a little bit of your story. Like I didn't know that you came to this country with no money, young, and just took a risk. Like I learned that today. That's pretty cool. And if we had another hour, I'd be like, let's talk about that.
That was a long time ago, and I came for grad school at Boston University, and the rest is history. So I'd say take the risk.
That's amazing. What camera do you use?
I use the Alpha 7R5,
My favorite.
and I am particularly partial to the 24-7 EGM GM2 now lens, which is absolutely spectacular.
That's my workhorse combination at the studio too. I always say my favorite lens is the 85 GM, now the 85 GM2, but my workhorse is the 24 to 70 GM2 for sure.
I mean, we have amazing lenses, and it's always sort of a joy shooting with them. And I have tried some new ones recently because I have tried the Alpha 7CR,
Mhm.
which is, for the baby resolution camera, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I've done some good photography with it in New York a couple of weeks ago. But that's still sort of the, A7R5, 24-7 EGM.
What do you like to shoot?
Not people. That's what I come to you for. Uh, I would say landscape, a lot of cityscapes. I love shooting astro. That is particularly, interesting and exciting to me. I do like shooting wildlife if I have an opportunity, birds. So, yes, it is. I do enjoy shooting portraits of people that I care about, but I'm sort of not the street photographer type.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just checking how are we doing. Okay, great. So, all right. So we've had several guests
Okay.
on this series so far. We've had Jean Fruth, Brooke Shaden, Sarah France, Tamaya Colvin, Katrina Eisman, Lizzie Gadd, Kesha Lambert, Caroline Jensen, Nancy Barwick, and Amber Baird, just to name, actually, that's all of them. So
Love them.
those
They're all my friends, so that works
just
out.
great people. So now we're going to play the high school superlative game. And I'm going to
Okay.
ask you a question, and you have to match the person with the description.
Okay.
Most likely to photograph every single model at one of our events.
Uh, I think that would probably be Sarah. Sarah.
Ooh, that is a good answer, but I had Katrine.
Okay, Katrine too.
Yeah, I forgot about Sarah. I have another one for Sarah.
Katrine is more particular about who she shoots, but yes, I would.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Most likely to tell it to you straight or wear hot pink.
Oh, or wear hot pink. It's have to
And
be the
wear
same
hot
person.
pink.
Um, hmm. Nancy Borowick, Amber Baird, Amber Baird would be
Tamaya. Amber would be a good answer for that too, but I had Tamaya.
okay.
A rose by any other name is.
I would pick Lizzie for that.
Oh my God, you're coming up with good plan Bs. I had Caroline because
Okay,
flower.
yeah, because flowers, yeah.
Um, most likely to throw you a curveball.
I would pick Tamaya for that, actually.
That is
Believe
that is a
that.
good one. I had
But
Jean
I
because it
think
was
you
just
were
a play
thinking
on
King Cruise
words.
because it's a
Yeah,
baseball thing. Yes,
exactly.
figured you would.
Most likely to get stuck in a dryer, coffin, aquarium, any and all of.
Definitely Brooke Shaden, definitely. No doubt about it.
That was an
Yes.
easy one. Most able to defend you in court.
Oh, well, that would definitely be Kesha. Yes.
For those of you guys who don't know, Kesha is an attorney, started her career as an attorney. So these are all to get you guys to go back through our archives and listen to the stories that each of these women has shared with us. Most likely to win best dressed and or give us all the makeup lessons.
Best dress or makeup lessons. Wasn't that Kesha again? That's Kesha.
That's
No?
Sarah. Sarah
Sarah.
showed up at Condo wearing this little black jumpsuit, and I showed up at Condo wearing a little black jumpsuit, and I looked like a hobbit compared to her. Like she was just like, she had her whole look put together, and it doesn't matter. Like I'm always like, oh my God, can you please teach me how to do my eyeshadow? She's
Yes,
awesome.
she's very
Uh,
good.
Most likely to hug a tree.
Lizzie.
Yep.
Lizzie Dad. Yeah.
Must love dogs.
That's Amber. Amber Baird.
Most likely to create award-winning art in her kitchen.
Award-winning art in her
Award-winning
kitchen.
photographs in her kitchen.
Nancy? Nancy Borowitz?
That's who I
Yeah.
chose because every time I see one of her images, I'm like, that is amazing. And it's her two little boys like crawling under a table or under a high chair, or something like that. So that's who I had for that. Good job.
Thank you.
What is the most surprising thing that people don't know about you?
Um, I would imagine a lot of things because people don't know many things about me. And I'm not particularly fond of going around talking about myself. But I speak four languages, five-ish.
Okay, what are those? English.
Romanian, Spanish, French, and I've also studied Japanese.
Oh my gosh, Japanese is hard.
It is, yes.
When you
Which is
study
why I studied Japanese in college. I majored in it. And I was pretty good. By the time I finished, I could hold a decent conversation. And I even delivered a speech in Japanese once. But, you know, it's life took me away doing other things. And it's very easy to, um, to lose it
yeah.
because it is so different. Yeah.
When you learn to speak Japanese, are you also learning how to write in Japanese? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And if somebody asked me today, how should I go about learning Japanese? I would tell them, do not try to learn how to write at the same time. Like, do not try to learn kanji at the same time. Like, yeah, learn some kanji just so you know that it's the most frequent ones, but that will hold you back a lot because kanji, that's a very difficult system to learn, whereas the language itself is not very difficult at all, and the grammar is very well structured, and it's always the same sentence structure. So learn how to speak.
Okay.
I did both, and if I were to go back to it, which I've been trying to, I'm only going to learn how to speak, not write.
That sounds like a practical advice. That would be confusing. Okay, I have two things left for you because we're coming down on time. Words of advice or encouragement for creators out there in general. I feel like we kind of touched on that earlier, but
Yeah.
you could sum up.
I would say my biggest word of advice, other than the things I've said, is learn how to be confident and learn how to be humble, and the difference between being humble and self-defeating behavior, right? Because ultimately, if you don't believe in yourself, why should I? And it's much more nuanced than that. I have believed in many people who didn't believe in themselves, and it worked out. But because of how much is thrown at us all the time, you are responsible for yourself and how you show up into the world. If you show up into the world showing how many fears and self-doubts you have, it is going to be very difficult for the world to see anything else other than that, right? And nobody is responsible for making you who you are other than you, right? Nobody should be responsible for pulling you out of your lack of confidence if you are not confident yourself. So for any creator who's trying to make it in this world and succeed and put their work out there, I would say learn confidence, learn how to behave in a way that is not obnoxious. I'm not saying be arrogant, but is confident and has a clear understanding of who you are and what you bring into the world. And once you're clear on that with yourself, the confidence will also come because you believe in that, right? You believe in your thing, you believe in your value, you believe in the work that you bring out into the world. So don't do the self-deprecating stuff. Don't do the, oh, little old me stuff. Just go in and say, this is me. This is who I am. I love who I am. I'm confident about who I am. And I would like to do X. I would like to work with you. I would like to show you this. I would like to put this piece of work out there. That is sort of my biggest thing for people because literally there's no reason for anybody to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. And you have to think about that. And the second thing I would say is, and this is really important to me, is, and this is very difficult. This is very difficult. And I have been practicing it for a long time and it's still very difficult at times. And it's very difficult in general for people, which is there is enough for everybody. This culture of scarcity that we've been living in has really done a number on people, right? And a lot of the lack of confidence comes from that as well, because you come at everything with the idea that if that person gets it, I won't. And right. You can't do life like that because it's going to be a constant stream of challenges and pain. And it's not going to feel good, right? It doesn't feel good to be in that mind space. So one thing I have been, preaching as part of the Alpha Female program all of these years is for women to succeed in any field, in wherever they are, it is important for them to be supported by other women, first and foremost. We have a lot of allies. We have allies of all genders who support the program, and everybody is part of it, right? But when it comes to women specifically, one thing that I have seen is that whenever women are not supported by other women, that's when they have the least likelihood of succeeding. And that's when sort of nobody ends up winning. So my whole thing that I tell everybody is, I believe in you. And I believe you can get it. And I believe that you can get that promotion or that project or whatever. And I believe I can get it too, because there is enough for everybody. And you have to come at life with that perspective in mind. And I've heard this argument from other people before. Yeah, but there's only a limited number of grants, Michaela, and there's only a limited number of, projects that Sony puts out. And my point is like, yes, but there is not a limited number of anything out there, right? So if you don't get this grant, you're going to get another one if you keep trying and if you put yourself out there and you're confident about what you bring to the table. And most importantly, if you come at it from the perspective of I deserve it too, versus I am going to do everything I can for that person not to get it because maybe I have a better chance. Right. And this is particularly important in, hierarchical structures and corporate structures like the ones that we live in, because by we, I mean my team and I, because there are only so many positions available for any one thing, right? So you would be justified in a way to say, well, if that person gets it, I won't, right? But at the same time, if you start looking at it differently, you're like, well, that person deserves it, and so do I. And something's going to happen that will allow us both to thrive, right? So come at it from that perspective. Come at it with confidence and come at it from an idea of abundance. Like there's enough for everybody, and I will have a part of it, and so will everybody else. And I am going to support everybody who wants it as well, versus I'm being in competition with them. You're only in competition with yourself at any one time. If you are better than who you used to be and better than you were yesterday, you're winning. Like you're winning hard. It does not matter It does not matter if you compare to somebody else and that person is doing better than you by whatever measure, right? That is absolutely irrelevant. Comparison is the killer of joy. But if you are winning yourself and you feel better than who you were before, man, that is winning. And you should feel really good about that and really confident about it too, right? So those are the things I would say: confidence, abundance, and don't compete with anybody but yourself.
I think that as creators, we get so hung up on what it is we're producing. And we had a friend of ours, a portrait photographer, said to us a long time ago, and we say this all the time in our studio: we're not selling the art, we're selling the result of the art, the way you feel about the art when you are experiencing the art. And I think for sometimes when we're feeling insecure or not sure of ourselves or whatever, if we can shift that mindset to think about what it is you're giving, not necessarily like oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not as experienced as this person or whatever, but it is what you're doing something you believe in? Is it a value? Is it, serving purpose in this world? And if you can take that emphasis off of you specifically and more of what it is that you're bringing, I think that that could help people too, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Focus on that. Focus on the feeling, focus on the story, focus on the joy. Don't focus on the thing itself. That will always bring you more than the thing itself. Yeah.
Well, Michaela, I don't know how to wrap it up any better than you have. So I had a couple more questions, but you've already answered them. And I know that your time is very precious and we've run over a few minutes. So thank you for sticking around and thank you for doing this. I know that our community members are just going to love this. If they haven't watched it live, they're going to watch the replay. I'll post that in the Facebook group. And selfishly, this was a joy. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a joy for me, and a great honor to be able to speak to you. And so many thanks to our partners at B&H, who are really just wonderful to work with, and great partners in business and in all of this, and have been very supportive. So really appreciate that, and great work on all the shows you've done so far. It's been
Well,
great watching that.
you took the words out of my mouth with B&H. They've just given us this wonderful platform to spotlight all of these amazing creators. And hop on over to the Facebook group because we will be posting a list of all the replays that you guys can watch over the holiday season. And to Sony for creating this community and letting us share it with everybody. So thank you, everybody. This has been another episode of Sony Alpha Female, the interviews, and we will see you next time.